And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Fight and Fit Show. This week we are for sure going to finish up this series on our series on nutrition and coming into your own with exercise, health and wellness. We really want to help make sure that nutrition is an element for you guys that is made simple. That way, if you want to track things, you want to be really, really particular about what kind of nutrition is coming in, you're having issues with it, that this series can definitely be something that you can review and reflect on from time to time. That, you know, I'm sure there's an episode that maybe you might not have that issue yet, but if you review it in time, maybe you're having that issue. Maybe that if right now you're maybe a little bit more restrictive, you want to be a little bit more intuitive, that this series is going to help you, particularly this episode today. So if you've got any questions, guys, feel free to comment under the videos. And yeah, let us know. We'd love to help you guys. We'd love to answer your questions in future podcast episodes. And we know this series has been going on a while. We appreciate you guys who have stuck with us. And yeah, hopefully you found it helpful. How are you feeling today, Chris? Are you ready to rock?
Ready to rock. Let's go.
So, cool. So tear away.
First, we're going to go on about meal plan and preparation in regards to intuitive eating. So point number one, explore meal plan strategies that align with intuitive eating. So any thoughts on that, Brendan?
Well, again, so the key word there, obviously, your intuition. So what is your intuition? Your intuition is that voice that speaks to you inside yourself and tells you, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? You know, what feels right for me today? And obviously the cool thing is about your intuition is that's going to vary from day to day. Your body is always fluctuating from day to day. You know, we're very rarely the same person as we were yesterday. You know, we're learning something, we're challenged by something, you know, we're going through something, maybe, you know, we're in a calorie deficit, that's going to affect your body. Well, maybe you're not as well slept. And so again, we want to help you create a meal plan, or at least come up with a strategy for creating a meal plan that is going to enable you to use your intuition while focusing on a said meal plan, or while practicing, you know, quote unquote, healthy eating habits.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to make one of these meal plans yourself, the first thing you need to do is establish what your goal is. So first, establish a goal, whether it's lose body fat, gain weight, or support exercise. You need to decide on which one that is, and that will help you determine a rough calorie expenditure. And then from that, if you are looking to build as much muscle as possible, it's important to hit a certain amount of protein per pound of body weight. And if you're just looking to lose body fat, well, then you don't need to hit as much protein. So after you have a protein target, you basically decide how much carbohydrates you want to support your exercise, and then how much fat to fill in the blanks. And then once you have a rough idea of what you need, well, then you build out a rough meal plan. And the main thing with this meal plan is that it's flexible and it's not rigid, and that you have a few different ideas and a few different substitutes for different things. And it will take a wee while to build out, and it will take a wee while to feel out. But the goal is to be satisfied from your meals, to enjoy your food, and to not feel like you're absolutely stuck to this diet plan. That, like, if you, let's say you planned on having like a sandwich for lunch or whatever it is, but you got an invite from your friends to go for lunch today, you can go to the restaurant. You can pick something that will roughly fit the same macros as your planned lunch. And then, like, the meal plan still works and it's not thrown out of whack.
Exactly, yeah. And again, this is like, intuitive eating is going to require some maturity. You know, you're going to have to generally, like, because again, we all have wants and we all have emotions, and then underneath that you have what I would refer to as your intuition. So again, like, your intuition does not just mean go with whatever emotion kind of blows in the door, but instead kind of starting to be mindful about how you feel and trying to make a very mature decision on whether or not it's right for you. So again, if you're trying to lose weight and it really means an awful lot to you, and your friends say, hey, we're going to McDonald's for lunch, intuitive eating might also mean, hey, listen, guys, that's just not the right decision for me today, but I appreciate it. Thanks so much for the offer. But again, if you've been really, really, focused and you're proud of yourself, you're making good progress, you've got enough, let's say it's weight loss, let's say it's building muscle, you've got enough progress moved in a given direction that you're also not kind of going, oh, well, I have to stick to this meal plan no matter what. And it's like, listen, I understand the macros of a McDonald's, I understand the calories, and I'm going to make an educated decision. I'm also going to take in, my emotional and social position right now and say, I could do with a lunch date with my friends more than I could do with another 0.2 off the scales tomorrow. And so again,
Yeah.
it's like, what is a reasonable and rational decision given the scope of where you are, who you are, and what you're feeling that day. So
Well,
again,
the main thing there, I think, is that it's a conscious decision, and I think if you can consciously decide to do it, rather than like if you consciously decide that you want to go get McDonald's, is a lot different than repressing the feeling of saying no to your friends. Like instead of just repressing that and just going along with the flow anyway, and then feeling guilty about the diet because maybe you didn't want to admit to your friends or something that you were trying to lose weight or that you're trying to diet or that's against your diet. You didn't want to be the negative Nelly who's like, no McDonald's for me. I think the decision to go and then have what you want that would fit in that sort of thing will lead to a lot less guilt than if you just don't admit it to yourself, don't admit it to your friends, and don't actually make the decision, just go along with it because you feel like you have to.
Yeah. So again, what are the strategies for planning an intuitive eating plan? Let's say. So again, what are the things you're going to want to do? You're just going to want to write down, what your calories are, what your protein goals are, what your fat goals are, what your carb goals are, and then just tear up that piece of paper and throw it away. No, I'm joking. No. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to write, okay, based on what I know and what I feel like a really good way to kind of practice intuitive eating is just kind of by portion size, like your hand. It's like we often use the hand model. It's like, a cupped handful is about your carbohydrate portion. Your palm size is about your protein portion. Your thumb is about the size of your fat portion, and a double cupped hand is for your fruits or vegetables or fist. Is that?
Yes.
Would I fit my fist in my double cup hand?
Probably.
Again, we're intuitive eating. We're not going to stress about it too much. And again, especially if it's fruits and vegetables, it's probably not going to be the biggest deal in the world if your portion size for your vegetables again isn't exact. And again, it's probably not going to be the biggest deal in the world if the rest of your portion sizes aren't exact. If you're listening to your body, because again, if you're starting to force feed yourself and you're starting to feel full, all right, that could be enough for you. It's like let's just leave it there. If you feel like there wasn't enough food on your plate, again, that would be a good key to start adding some bigger portions for maybe you're a little bit more veg, a little more carbs, a little more protein. Maybe if you want to try and gain weight, a lot more fat. Maybe if you're trying to lose weight, maybe again just take it handy enough of the fat and again opt for healthy fats, because again a big part of the intuitive eating practice, if you're going to go down that road, is like, listen, that's quite a healthy mindset, and going with a healthy mindset, you got to have a healthy body. And so we're looking to nourish our bodies with our intuitive eating plan too. So again, it's like, what foods do I feel like would be good for me today? Like, should I go for a salad? What foods do I actually like? And so again, intuitive eating would probably really stay away from force feeding yourself Brussels sprouts if you really don't like them, and just making a mature decisions and going, what, I'm going to opt out of Brussels sprouts and I'm going to go for a salad that I actually really look forward to eating, instead of trying to force feed myself bean sprouts are the latest superfood even though you don't like them.
I think it's also really important to say that it's not just about what you like, it's about how those foods make you feel. Like if you eat like a Tex-Mex bloody I don't know, like Mexican chip sort of thing with cheese and grease and mince and taco sauce and all that sort of stuff, you eat it, in the moment it's absolutely delicious, but like after, you can be left with heartburn, it can leave your stomach all gurgly, you feel lethargic, you feel like stuffed, and it's not a very, very nice feeling. And intuitive eating would also be like, understanding what foods and what meals make you feel good. They make you feel energized, they don't make you feel sluggish, lethargic, or anything like that. And I think most people in modern societies basically go for flavor over everything else. It's like, oh, this tastes good, that's the only thing that matters, and they don't really understand how it makes them feel afterwards, or like if they do, it's like, it's worth it because it tastes so good, instead of like the crux of it should be, it's like, how does this make me feel? and then you eat intuitively based off how it makes you feel. And if you follow that, the whole point of intuitive eating is that you trust that your body knows what it wants and knows what it needs, and you go along with that.
And again, sometimes our intuition needs failure in order to get the latest software update. And so this is the whole thing where, again, if you are genuinely engaging with this from your heart and you run it for a week or two and you notice that, oh, I'm actually off and I'm not getting a result, you intuitively will make that adjustment, and going forward then you'll be able to make better decisions. So again, a little bit of trial and error is going to be required in order for your intuition to be up to the latest or to be up to date with the latest software. And I suppose a big part of this as well is exploring meal planning strategies, is that you actually have to sit down and do out a plan. And then you look at that and then you say, okay, what do I think of this? Is there anything that I would change? But getting your thoughts out on paper is really, really useful, because what we don't want to do is just wing it, because that's not what intuitive eating means either. It's not just about showing up and doing whatever you feel like and here, fingers crossed that it works. It's like writing out foods that you really like, writing out foods that maybe you've tried in the past that you don't really want to incorporate into your meal plan this time around, and then implementing and again updating as you go. Try and create as much variety as possible in your food list. Try and organize your shopping list so that way you have a lot of variety and a lot of different options. And again, Chris made a great point there before the podcast, like again, setting your meal plan up in such a way and setting your shopping list up in such a way that, you know, there's the vegetables that are there and the meats that are there and the carbs that are there. You could literally maybe make one of three things based on, you know, what you have at home, instead of only buying ingredients that only work for one thing. Because then again, if you don't have it, what are we going to do?
Okay, so let's give an example for that. So one of the ones that I use for that I really enjoy is with minced meat. So like I'll make like a spaghetti bolognese for like sort of minced meat. So I'll get my passata, I'll get my tomatoes, I'll get all my different spices and all that sort of stuff, and cook my mince that way. And then I can have my mince basically with, let's say, one of three things. I could have sloppy joes, which is basically like burgers but with extra minced meat on it. I could have spaghetti bolognese, or I could have a cheesy nachos, where I'll like put the nachos on a bowl and then pour the mince over it and then put a little bit of cheese over it, and I can eat it that way. And then that's like how, depending on what I'm feeling like. If I'm feeling like a cheat sort of meal, I'll want to go for the nachos because they feel like they're a little bit like batter. Or if I'm feeling like I'm being pretty healthy, I'll go with the spaghetti bolognese. So I'm feeling like something in between or a little bit of adventure, so I'm just pouring spaghetti bolognese, I'll go for the sloppy joes. But you can do very, very similar stuff with chicken, with stir fries, with noodles, with wraps and sandwiches or whatever it is that you want. Like again, you have your protein, you have your carbs, you have your fat, and then you have your vegetables, and you can basically arrange them whatever way you want. But if you have your protein and you can mix and match that with your carbohydrates, you have a new meal. If you have a protein and you mix and match that with your vegetables, you can have a new meal, and same with your fats.
Or again, so something that I do as part of like, because again, I would say for the most part, what I do is, unless I'm really like trying to hone in on a Kickstarter, it's all very intuitive. Is like, you know, scroll on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube and have a little look, explore a new recipe, and so again, oh listen, I wouldn't mind trying something new, and again, exploring it, see what you think about it. And so for me, that's a big part of enjoying my nutrition, is getting to try new things and try new recipes. And oh, geez, that looks really nice. That's maybe something that I never had before, and something that I can maybe incorporate now long term, because you know we've had enough spaghetti bolognese every week for the last 12 years, but maybe not. Maybe it's your favorite too. So again, just making sure that you've got new recipes and exciting flavors. And that's something that I would definitely recommend, is go onto YouTube, go onto TikTok and get following, you know, amazing low calorie or lower calorie, higher protein versions of your favorite food, because like the amount of amazing content that's out there now at your fingertips is literally insane. And so that kind of brings us to the end of our meal planning and preparation, unless you've anything to add, Chris, because again, we just covered there creating your balanced and nourishing meal plan and experiment with new recipes and flavors.
Yeah, so no, just to summarize that, I think the number one thing is it needs to be flexible, but you need a baseline to work off that you enjoy and that makes you feel good. That so like, you know, if you have this for breakfast, it's a good breakfast that you like. It's tasty, but it makes you feel good. Same with your lunch. You have a lunch that is tasty and makes you feel good, and you have a dinner. You're not sticking rigidly to that plan, and you're actively seeking new meals and new things that make you feel good. And when you are looking for something new and you're judging it under that criteria, you'll put it into a certain box. You're like, that either doesn't make me feel good or does make me feel good. And that will help you view foods in a different way as well. So you have a skeleton of a meal plan, and then you have your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, or it can just be lunch and dinner. Again, everyone's different. But you start branching off and you're trying to experiment with different things, and you understand roughly how much food you need at lunch, and you understand roughly how much food you need at dinner, regardless of what kind of food that is.
Yeah, and so what I would say as well, just kind of to wrap that up, would be, also your portion size. Again, just making sure that you're not starving yourself if you're trying to lose weight. Because again, obviously, an awful lot of people, when they're dealing with nutrition and dealing with challenges, that they are like, listen, one of the biggest issues, we talked about this in the podcast before with ladies that I had, in particular, just because they're the ones who were saying it to me, was, they were on quote unquote 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 calories, but they weren't on 1,200, 1,400 calories, because what would happen is they would try and stick to that meal plan and they would just end up going off plan. So something in them did not make the micro adjustment because they were being too rigid to the calories that were given to them, instead of going, okay, listen, I know I'm not going to be able to stick to this. I'm just going to add an extra 200-300 calories to my day. I know that I'm not getting enough. And that's going to improve the sustainability of the meal plan. And that's kind of why intuitive eating is such a powerful practice, that it's going to keep you from failing the diet by trying to be too restrictive, that you're going to be able to go, actually, you know what, in order for this thing to work, I know I'm going to need a little bit more, or you know what, in order, I'm kind of feeling like I'm overeating here a little bit. I just need to pull back a little bit. I know I'm snacking a little bit too much. I'm just going to pull back a little bit, instead of being, super hot and cold about it. It's like, just listen to what it's like. Listen, you are a very smart, intelligent, and mature person. You're very capable of making an educated and appropriate decision if you just trust yourself enough to do so. And that's what intuitive eating is all about.
Yeah, it's not even it's not even about trusting yourself. It's about like just actually listening to your body. So like after you have a meal, so sit and feel how it feels. Like, do you feel stuffed? Like, okay, that was probably a bit too much. Or you feel hungry? Do you feel like that wasn't satisfying? Like, you need more. Sit and wait for a while, and then you're like, no, I feel like I needed more there. Now, there's a difference between the craving and actual hunger and actually needing more. And when you actually sit and ask yourself that, you'll get more familiar with the differences.
So, well, let's just kind of keep rolling that on, because you're on a good wavelength, Chris. Address common challenges in the intuitive eating journey. So, obviously, yeah, that is a big one. It's like, so you're just not listening. You're not being mindful enough.
Yeah, not understanding what the difference is. Like, to someone, like, you could have a debate with someone about what feels good, and they could argue and make a very, very good case for being stuffed feels class. Yeah. Like, so being stuffed is one of the best feelings ever. After a big meal, you pop your top button open, you let your belly hang out, and you're sitting there rubbing your belly out. That was bloody great. You're just like, and then, but you're sitting sluggish and lethargic forever, or for like a couple hours after. The best example is, for me anyway, is Christmas. After Christmas, you're sitting, you had a big Christmas dinner, whatever it is, and the kids, they sort of followed their nutrition, their intuitive eating pretty well. So after their dinner, they're fucking ready, running around the house playing with their toys again, and they're trying to get all the adults to play with them, and you are just not feeling it because you feel sluggish and lethargic because you had too much for a big dinner.
But again, I would say, maybe that's your goal. Maybe you went into Christmas with the goal of, hey, listen, I'm here to relax today. So again, I feel like it's all about what your medium to long term strategy is when we talk about these practices. Like, listen, every once in a while, especially like if you're after cutting and you're going through a period of hunger, maybe the contrast does feel quite good. Or maybe, if you are in a period of restriction, maybe what you really are craving is this feeling of fullness. But again, we talk about the issues, like, well, the real issue is that, you're in a lack, and so now you want to swing to the extreme. And so intuitive eating is more, your body doesn't really work naturally at extremes, where your body really operates best at, and what it's striving to do for the most part is achieve a state of homeostasis where things are just neutral, they're balanced. And so again, as I said, if you listen to your body, for the most part, you're very rarely going to end up starving, or you're very rarely going to end up absolutely stuffed. You're going to know right well, you know what, I'm going to be a moderate person in my approach to portion sizes and to desserts and this kind of stuff. Is like, we all know, one dessert's probably enough, but when we, let things go, we can kind of maybe push ourselves and force ourselves like a soldier through your second slice of cheesecake. And again, yeah, it's leading you away from your intuitive eating practices when we take into consideration what your goal is. When your goal probably is, I want to be a little bit leaner because maybe you have some extra cushion for the pushing. Maybe you just want to maintain a high standard of health, or maybe you do want to generally build muscle. And so again, if you take these goals in consideration, you'll find the right answer if you just, again, be mindful and not be unconscious and just habitually going with the momentum of the day and listen to what other people tell you or kind of pressure you into doing.
Yeah. I agree.
Right, so develop strategies to handle social situations, food cravings, and body comparisons. So again,
I think that's what you're leading on to there, which is basically about how letting the situation basically goad you into eating more than you have to. So like,
and
Mrs.
again, sorry,
Doyle comes to mind.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, Mrs. Doyle comes to mind being like, go on. You'll have a cup of tea, father. Go on.
This is it.
You just keep on, go on, you deserve it. You need it. Go on, you deserve it. Have some. Fine,
And so
don't
again,
worry about it. Diet can start again Monday.
Back to the conversation about habits. And so again, what are we talking about when we're talking about intuitive eating? Chris hit the nail on the head when he talked about mindfulness. And so again, you actually have to listen. You have to become conscious in order to practice intuitive eating. And in order to become conscious, we have to take our environmental cues into consideration here big time. And so again, what is our cues? Our cues can be our environment, it can be people, it can be smells, it can be this, all these kind of things that can set you into an automated behavior that is going to be unconscious and the exact opposite of intuitive, because maybe you have, and again, hopefully intuitive eating will soon become habitualized, and the natural order of things would be for you to sit down, eat your meal, take pauses, listen to your body. And maybe that is then your natural process. And maybe as you're listening to this, maybe that is your natural process. But I think, for the vast majority of people in this hyper palatable, hyper processed food situation we find ourselves in, again, where the bog standard is that we use food as a reward, we use food as our social lubricant, we use food to celebrate. It's very, very easy to overindulge. And so again, it's probably going to take more conscious action and attention to just find ourselves in a neutral place where we are eating foods that support our goals and support our health, and in portions that support our goals and support our health.
Yeah.
And so again, what are the strategies that we could use in a social situation that when you find your Mrs. Doyle coming over to you with the big tray of buns?
No, learning how to. No, thank you. I'm good.
Do you know what it is? That is a very, very powerful kind of situation, because I know so many people is like, you just don't understand the value of no. Because I know myself, like I used to be a yes man. I didn't respect the power of my own no. And yeah, again, it's like I feel like that's such a simple answer, Chris, but I also feel like it is deeply powerful. Like, really, you have to learn to say no and understand that if you are saying yes when you mean no, that like you're getting imposed upon, and that's going to affect you in lots of different ways, and can even have a knock-on effect and turn into a habit where you squander what you feel, and because you don't want to be rude.
Look, one of the best ways to do this is to make the person asking feel guilty. So if no doesn't work the first time, okay, and it doesn't work the second time, you can level with them and be like, look, I'm finding it a little bit difficult to stick to my diet now, and you are really tempting me to break it. I really don't want to break it, so can you stop, please? Thank you. Now, that's a last resort, and it can seem like it's kind of rude or kind of like disrespectful, but if you said no once and like, I go on, and you're like, no twice, and like, I go on, wait, stop being so uptight, and then you'd be like, boom, look, and just mention that it means a lot to you that you can't actually do it, and then you have no problem with everyone else eating whatever they want, but it's not for you today. You've already had your calories for today. Or if you really want, you can lie and just say, nah, I'm just not feeling well as well. You can be deceptive about it. But I think just being honest with them, be like, no, look, doesn't go with my goals. I am committing to this. And then once you do that, well, then you'll feel this little thing over your head where like you just have to live up to that reputation now.
But I feel like a big part of it as well, if you're in a good social circle, like let's assume you're not in a toxic social circle, and if you are, I encourage you to get out of that situation. But
It's not
most
even-
people
Go on. I wouldn't say someone.
no,
going
I'm not.
toxic.
No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not. That's why I said I'm assuming it's coming. That's my point. I'm assuming that
Okay.
this is coming from love. Like if you're in a toxic situation, people are literally trying to undermine your diet. It's like run. But most people, where it's coming from this place of, here's a bun. In my experience, buns bring me joy. I want you to have some joy. And you're like, oh no, no joy for me, thanks. And I'm like, oh no, please have some joy. You'd love some joy. I know. I seen you enjoy joy last week. You love it. We always have pizza together. It's such a good way for us to connect and bond. And we're just kind of having a chat. And we're breaking bread together. And that's where things started to change for me, because no became this thing where I understand where it's coming from. So I don't really have a problem. It's like, listen, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm good. I've had enough. Honestly, enjoy. Like, no problem. I'll get you next time. It's like, it's not coming from this forceful place where they are trying to impose on you. And it's not a negative experience, but it can feel like that because it is. You're already in this kind of torn battle that you really want the bun and you're struggling to say no, when really, you want to say yeah. And again, it's coming from love. Like in these situations, all these people are always coming at it from love, but you just have to understand where it's coming from, so that way you can deal with it appropriately. It's like, listen, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You're so kind for always offering this and always kind of having, treats like this available. But it's just not for me this week. I really appreciate it. I'm losing weight. What do you think? What do you think? You see it? What do you think? I'm down a dress size. You appreciate it? You like it? Whatever it is. And so again, once you understand that it's coming from love, these people are your friends. They want the best for you. Just reiterate to them what exactly is the best for you.
Yeah, exactly. You put it much better than I did.
So
like, no.
Food cravings is another element that's really, really important, because again, in a situation like that, like, you're craving it. And so when we're talking about intuitive eating, like, you can also decide, yes, I'll have a bun. I'm going to make an educated decision. So the first protocol is like, yeah, listen, educate yourself. Like, an awful lot of people, what happens is they eat a bun and they go, oh my God, that was the worst thing ever. It's like, listen, it was 159 calories. Like, don't be stressing too much about it. It's like, it's not that big of a deal in the long run anyway. And also, if it gives you a little pick me up and you use it for fuel to keep the nutrition battle going strong, it's like, it's actually probably could be a good thing for you.
Yeah, well, if you're cheating on your diet and you're having a bun, something that can happen a lot is you kind of repress it psychologically and you minimize the experience, and then because you minimize it, you don't appreciate it as much, and you end up basically feeling like you didn't really cheat on your diet at all, and it wasn't really worth it, and you have this little shame cycle where you're like, oh, I shouldn't have cheated, blah blah blah, it wasn't even worth it. Fucking hell, I'm such a piece of shit because I can't stick to a diet. Instead of going like, I'm going to have this bun and I'm going to enjoy every single bite of it, taking one bite and then like exaggerating how good it tastes and all this sort of stuff to yourself. Because how you communicate about it, even just to yourself, will change the experience for it. And if you make it a big experience and a big deal for having it, well, then you won't feel like you need to cheat for an even longer period of time.
I know, yeah, because again, that's it. I used to ask people all the time, post weekend, they'd be like, oh, how do we think? Oh, not great. I was like, why, what happened? Oh, I went off track and did this. And I was like, oh, did you enjoy it? And they were like, oh, not really. I'm like, oh, Jesus, what a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, what a fun. Exactly.
Because here's the problem. You're further away from your goal now and you're not feeling mentally recharged. I was like, at least you should have got one. At least we could have been closer to our goal and you weren't mentally recharged, but you were still fighting a good fight. Or you took a reprieve, you took a break, and now we've got more energy, more mental battery because we had a break and we're ready to go. Like, again, there's a reason that when you show up to a circuit class, that it's not just, 30 minutes on, no minutes off. So that break period is absolutely vital for your ability to recharge and give more to increase your total output.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be perfect. And again, maybe you want some sugar, maybe you need some sugar, maybe you need some energy.
This is it. So again, make a decision. What do you feel like is the right choice for you? Do you feel like you should have a bun in that situation? Do you feel like you should take a break? What do you feel like is the right decision for you? And then use your intuition and then see how you feel after it. Listen to your body. Listen and learn.
And if you have it and you feel that little shame or guilt cycle, like maybe it was the wrong decision.
But again, on the counter to that is like, is that shame accurate? It's like, this is where I want to take. It's like, should you feel shameful for eating 150 calories worth of cupcakes? It's like,
Depends.
again, it depends. It really does depend. It depends what else had eaten that day. It's like if that's your sixth time, intuitively eating cupcakes, it's like, all right, cool. Like maybe we're not using our intuition anymore. And so this is where I said at the start, it's like it requires a level of maturity from you as an individual. You've been trusted that you're a big boy or girl. You don't need to be told exactly what to eat in exactly what portion. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's a great strategy as well. But sometimes people get sick of counting calories. They get sick of having to measure every gram that goes into their mouth. And so it's like, right, okay, listen, here's some free reign a little bit. You know roughly what you have to do. You know roughly what you can get away with. You know roughly what you can't. And if you don't, listen, like genuinely listen, like genuinely listen, and start figuring out. I heard somebody actually quite recently talking about, I think it was Paul Check. Anybody looking for a health coach to follow on Instagram? Paul Check is a really cool guy, and he was saying, I think he was referring to it as your soul, and he was kind of saying it's like one of the big issues with people and their intuition or their soul and making choices is that they have no experience. And so, it's like one of the things that you can do is you can train it by letting your soul make decisions for you with small stuff. And so, hey, listen, what do you want to wear today? What would make you feel good today? What kind of hairstyle do you want to have today? What kind of breakfast do you want to have? What kind of music do you want to listen to? What kind of TV do you, but generally starting to listen to your soul, listen to your intuition on this kind of stuff. So that way you can build a relationship with it and you learn the soul song instead of, like, again, under pressure, having no familiarity with what your intuition sounds like, because differentiating between your intuition and your emotion, especially under stress and under pressure, is going to be difficult if you have no experience with it.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's very important to understand when you're stressed and when you're not. That'll have a big impact on it. And listening to your soul is really, really important. That thing where, like, something that I used to do that I think is a really good thing to do if you have the space and the thing, you're not going to be waking anyone up, is like wake up and then decide what music you want to listen to in the morning to set the tone for the morning. If you wake up, you set the music, you play some classical music if you feel all like Joe High and Mighty or whatever you want to call it. You stick on some R&B because you're going to bloody kill it, or some metal because you're going to hit the gym or something like that there. But let yourself decide which one you want and trust that it's just going to be a good decision. Same with breakfast, same with what you're going to wear. That's a really good shout.
And another one then is body comparisons. So again, like a big issue with, it's gonna mess with your intuition is because you're gonna be corrupted by comparison. So you're gonna be comparing yourself to, Tom, Dick, or Harry, Bill, Ben, and George. Sorry, my phone was dying there. So you're gonna be comparing yourself to other people as to what you should be doing because of where they're at and what their journey is. And so again, it's like, listen, it's very, very tempting. We all do it, but at the end of the day, comparison is the thief of joy, and so it's going to steal your life. It's going to steal your ability to think clearly because you're not thinking from yourself. You're thinking as them. You're putting yourself as them. And again, they're not you. They don't have your life experience. They don't have your struggles. They don't have your battles. They don't have your routine. They don't have your family, your friend circle, your likes, your dislikes. And so again, like really, you have to have an individual experience because that's at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, it's the only experience you have.
Yeah, I think body comparisons can be. I think they can go two ways. I think you can be inspired or you can be put off. Like you can feel like you're crap in comparison, and I think that happens at the same time. Like there's a cool thing JP says, which is beauty is a judge, and if you look at someone who is way better than you, it's a judge because you compare yourself to them and you don't stack up because they made all the sacrifices that they needed to make. They did all the sort of stuff that they need to do, and it makes you feel insignificant. And the response to that feeling can be one of two things. It can be shame and like I won't hold up to it, or it can be aspiration and try and if they can do it, I can do it too. So I think that's also very, very important. I think it is also important to understand that everyone is different and that social media, especially with body comparisons, like understand the landscape as well. Like understand the landscape and understand that like the things that you are seeing are the top 1% of 1% because, like if you have a town, like what Dundalk, well let's say Dundalk, like if you have, 30,000 people or something like that in Dundalk, something stupid like that. But like Joe, the people who are top influencers in Dundalk, it's only like 10, 15 maybe in different fields. So it'd be the makeup ones, it'd be the gym ones, it'd be the cooking ones, the tattoo ones, and all that sort of stuff. So like you only see the best, and you don't see all the people who are like third best or 10th best or whatever, and you don't know where you stack up in relation to that. And then you could be unfortunate enough to have someone like like Michael Jordan as your college roommate or something like that there, and then you have to live up with that comparison because he's done so much better than you in this little small sort of scenario because he's more recognized on like an international level instead.
Which again could rub off on you. You know, it could rub off on you. You know, it's like rubbing shoulders with the greats. You know, you could get a little bit of inspiration for, you know, what real work ethic looks like, because often enough the cream does rise to the top, but obviously again it's like, yeah, use it as a comparison. If you can use, if it's starting to become, if you're starting to get demoralized, look back. If you're starting to get comfortable, look forward. And it really is just about keeping the balance between that, because again it's like, listen, anytime I need inspiration when I'm feeling like an absolute lazy lump, I just look at Goggins. It's not, listen, say whatever you want about David Goggins' approach. It's like, there's one thing that man will make you do, and it's feel lazy. And so again, it's like if you think you're it and you're, oh, I've done enough, it's like, look, Goggins, you know. And again, if you think that, you know, you're absolutely worthless and that you've never achieved or never amounted to anything, look back to where you used to be. You know, look back to how far you've come, because again, chances are you've made some positive progress. And again, if you have literally never achieved anything in a physical or nutrition space, look at somebody who is sick. Look at somebody who isn't able to do it. And maybe then you could start getting some inspiration just from gratitude, because you realize, geez, I've got so much going for me here. You know, it'd be a shame to squander this opportunity, because again, listen, as terrible of a situation that you are in, somebody may have it worse, and they could be sitting in a hospital bed praying to God for the opportunity that you have right now. And, you know, as I said, it would be a shame to waste it. Like, you have so much going for you, but you could also be doing so much better. And the line to dance between those two things is complicated at times. So it's not always obvious as to, you know, should I be doing better? Should I have a six pack? Should I be leaner? Should I be healthier? Should I be eating more protein? Should I eat more fruit? Should I eat more vegetables? But it could be an awful lot worse.
Yeah. I think to summarize that whole point, it would be compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today, and then allow people who, let's say, are above you in that sort of area to inspire you rather than make you feel less than.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. And then the last thing that we have to add on this is seek support from trusted individuals or professionals. And so again, it doesn't just have to be a professional. You know, maybe it could be someone else in the space. Maybe it could be a friend or a family member who's had success with nutrition, somebody you trust to point you in the right direction, maybe to exercise. And then obviously, again, go into a professional, because there are studies done, there is research out there, and a professional will have that evidence in their back pocket to help bring you on and to pass along certainty that what you're doing is, yes, the correct thing, or what you're doing is, yes, going to be harmful for you in the long term. And if you're not sure, you know, this is why I said educate yourself. It's like, you can literally be pointed in the wrong direction and, you know, be using your intuition poorly because you don't actually yet understand what the right thing is or what the wrong thing is. Because, and again, fair play to you, even though you're using your intuition, that's a great step in the right direction. Could that tool be sharpened? You know, could we be using it more effectively? And yeah, not heading in the right direction. You know, what would you say? Naively. You know, there's no badness in it. It's not that you're doing it purposely, but again, you're just a little naive and ignorant of the correct information. Because I know that's what I did.
So what I was going to say was, you know, like, you're just like the mammy who's being like, "Oh, I'm not eating after 6 anymore," and it's like that's the one thing that they feel like is in their control that they can do, and they don't know anything about calories or anything like that. They just stop eating at 6, and it works for them, which is really cool, because sure, they're eating less calories, but let's see how long to keep it up for.
But again, it might not even be working, but that's the only tool that they have. And so again, every time it comes to trying to lose weight, it's like they just cut out bread and stop eating after 6 and cross their fingers and please, I hope I got results. I got results one time. I'm not really sure why I got results. I'm not really sure what led to my success, but I'm pretty sure it was these two things, even though the success might have had nothing to do with that. It could have been another coincidental factor that they don't know what it is and can't replicate it. And so
We started walking every day. But I think what's really important here is to seek support from trusted individuals. That's really important as well. So like trusted individuals, someone who you know, like, and trust. If you know them and you give yourself a reputation to live up to in front of them, you will start acting like that as well. And then when you stop acting like that, they will call you on it as well. You're like, didn't you say you had this goal for like losing like 5 kilos and you're sitting eating ice cream? Is that in your calories? That's a bit thing. And the only reason they're doing it is because they're concerned. So having a support group is really, really important. If you have a support group, they can help you with all of your goals and help you stay on track, especially if you actually trust them and they actually want what's best for you. So that was the last point in our intuitive eating sort of series. So hopefully we'll move on to something next. If you have any suggestions for what you would like us to talk about in the future, please leave them in the comments below. And yeah, we'll call it a day. All right, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.